Starting in Monterosso, then continuing to Vernazza, a couple of the most beautiful villages in Italy's Cinque Terre. We're taking you to Monterosso, one of the 5 villages of the Cinque Terre. Monterosso, on the north end of the chain, is the largest of the 5 hamlets and makes a good home base because it has 20 hotels, the only broad sandy beach, excellent restaurants, and the start of the hiking trail. You ride by train at Monterosso in the newer section, then walk through a short tunnel into the old town. The map gives you some idea of the location with the new town on the left side, train station in the middle, and then the old town on the right side. And the big map of Italy shows the location of Cinque Terre up north between Pisa and Genoa. Monterosso is the only village in the Cinque Terre with a significant sandy beach. It's a big one. At the far end of the beach, you can see a path going diagonally up the side of the hill. That's the beginning of the great hiking trail of Cinque Terre. It can take you all the way down to Vernazza. We have several other movies about the hikes in Cinque Terre. Today's episode is going to focus just on Monterosso. We will show you that Monterosso itself is a beautiful village, and yet somehow it sometimes gets overlooked by people who are coming to Cinque Terre to see the other villages. Just because it has a new town, don't be thrown off. It's also got an old town, which is where we are in the current program, walking through the lanes of the old town, to show you that Monterosso really has more lanes, more restaurants, and more shops than any of the other villages of the Cinque Terre. So it really is an important place and a wonderful place for you to visit when you go to explore Cinque Terre. No matter where you are in the village, the seashore is just a few blocks away. From a vantage point along the shore, you can look all the way down the coast of Cinque Terre. You can see as far as Vernazza and the several villages in between, 5 of them altogether. There's another view of the trailhead, the hiking path that begins in Monterosso and goes all the way to Vernazza. You can see the old town is not very big. We're going to walk you through it. And the new town has lots more hotels and restaurants. Of course, the best way to see any place worth visiting is walking, just using your own 2 feet and meandering around. And here it's very easy because the old town is so small. You don't need a map, just take a left, take a right, go straight, see what looks good. You're going to wind up going around in circles. That's perfectly okay. You'll come back from the same way that you started maybe, and you'll see it in a different way. By now you can see the little lanes of Monterosso are endlessly fascinating. It's the people, the buildings, the food, the restaurants. As you walk through Monterosso, you're going to realize that many, if not most of the people that you see are residents of the town rather than tourists. And it's a lovely mix of older folks and working people, fishermen, and the kids. It's a place of great interest for the visitor, but it's also a place where many people live. There are 2 special hotels to consider for your stay, Hotel Pasquale and Villa Steno. These are owned and operated by 2 brothers who will be very helpful in your visit here. The Pasquale is really conveniently located right next to the tunnel that comes into the old town. You can see that this is a very significant town on the Italian Riviera in Cinque Terre, so you do want to spend some time here. It's not a place to just skip over. Well, that's it, folks. We've described Monterosso for you, taking you on a walk through the little lanes, showing you some restaurants, down to the beach. And we have other programs about this area. We'll be walking from Monterosso to the next village of Vernazza on the trail. We'll also be going there by boat, by train, and on to other villages along the coastline of Cinque Terre. So be sure to check out our other programs. You can travel from one of these towns to the next on foot, by train, or by boat, but not by car. There are no direct roads connecting Cinque Terre along the steep coastline, helping to preserve them as such unique places on this southern fringe of the Italian Riviera, about 40 miles south of Genoa. Vernazza is one of those 5 perfect villages that make up Cinque Terre in the Riviera coast of Italy along the Ligurian Sea. Located between Monterosso and Cornelia, north of Monterosso and Rio Maggiore. We're arriving here by train. There's very convenient train service all along this coast with trains coming about every half hour, so it's really easy to get from one town to the next. And when you get off at the train station, as typical, you're pretty much right in the center of town here. It's real easy in Vernazza. You just go down the steps and right onto the main street. We're taking a short walk through the center of the village down to the waterfront, and then later in this episode we're going to show you more of the beautiful center of town. And right down to the little waterfront. Only takes maybe 10 minutes to walk from the station down to the harbor. Very scenic and picturesque. And of course you'll want to take a very good look all around. It makes for quite a picture with these pastel-colored buildings wrapped around the little harbor and framed in the background by hillsides covered with terraces for vineyards, for growing grapes for wine. When you're in Vernazza, you want to go climb the staircase to get the view, and the shortcut is this steps right up here. Comes right out of the harbor, and you go straight up those steps and take a left and keep on going. And in 10 minutes, you got a fabulous view. You can see vineyards and some nice houses up on the hill. It's worth a climb. Part of the fun of walking up the hillside is not just getting to the destination for the beautiful view, but enjoying the buildings and steps and alleyways as you start climbing. You'll notice an alley with arches up above to protect the buildings and other beautiful little details of this old town. This walk up the hillside is really quite easy. Don't be alarmed by the stairs and the elevation. You can see a lot of it is quite level, and right away you get a rewarding view. This happens within your first 10 minutes of walking up the hill. You could go up higher. There's a farmer doing his daily errands, and you could walk all the way to Monterosso if the conditions are favorable. But we're just going up a little bit more, and it gets a little funky. There's stone walls and a cobbled stone staircase and then a bit of a dirt path, but it's all very safe and quite easy. And here's what you get. There is the reward, a beautiful view. It is just so scenic and perfect and picturesque. You're going to be shooting the same picture over and over again. Maybe zoom in, get a close-up, get a wide angle. Rest your camera on the railing to get a good steady shot. No matter what kind of camera you're using and no matter what the weather conditions, it's going to be beautiful. It would really be a shame to come all the way over here to Vernazza and not walk up this trail, and yet that's what most people fail to do. They just come into the town, which is beautiful. Of course, the village is very scenic and you're surrounded by those lovely buildings when you're down in the middle of the village. That's all well and good. But it's too bad that most people don't get up this very simple little path. So when you go, be sure to take this little hike. You'll find it's definitely worthwhile. And then of course going down is even easier. And you've got that rosy glow, that feeling of satisfaction of having a little bit of a challenge behind you, and you've got the nice view and you got some nice pictures out of it. And then you know that when you get down to the bottom of the hill, you're going to have a reward waiting for you, perhaps a meal, or at least a drink. Here's one of the locals scampering around. See how easy it is for this guy to get down the hill, so that's encouraging. Just scamper along. and only takes maybe 5 minutes to get back down the hill. It's certainly easier walking down than walking up. Put that argument to rest. It's all downhill from there, so you can soon be sitting at a table by the sea and enjoying your reward. A fabulous meal that tastes at least twice as good as it should, enhanced by your accomplishments and the picture book setting with a spectacular view all around. It's fun just to hang out in the village for a while and do a little people watching and observe the different buildings and the folks hanging out. These are locals generally down here in the off season before deciding what restaurant to pick for a nice lunch. Lots of cats around too, and dogs and other animals.
Oh, so cute.
Hiking through the hills past vineyards with enchanting views all around is one of the great attractions, but even more enjoyable for most visitors is simply strolling and relaxing in each village, soaking up the peaceful old world ambiance where cars and trucks are not allowed. And with the off-season, you certainly have a more peaceful and relaxed atmosphere. Oh, the cats are out hanging around, the dogs are getting along with them, the locals are out for a stroll or sitting on a bench relaxing. We're here in November, which is really a perfect time. October is also great. Off-season travel is especially rewarding in a destination like this, which derives so much charm from its small size and quiet atmosphere. And the weather during the off-season is generally very mild and pleasant. After all, this is Italy. There are a handful of restaurants right around this little harbor, and we found that several of them were really quite excellent. It was like home cooking. In the El Capitano, we had some sardines and some pasta and some wine to go with it. The ravioli with pesto sauce from basil grown right up on the hillside, no doubt, one of the specialties of the area. It was very satisfying. And we checked out a couple of other places that were also great. And we found that Ristorante Gambero Rosso was fantastic. Friendly people working here and incredible foods. Fresh homemade pasta with the pesto. That's one of the specialties of the Cinque Terre. They grow the fresh basil right up on the hillsides along with the grapes, so you can get some local wine to go with it too.
Just with the shrimp.
Pesto spaghetti. Spaghetti with salsa.
No, I like these thin sheets of pasta.
With. The name of the restaurant is Gambero Rosso.
Gambero Rosso, okay, Vernazza.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, fantastic. A week later, at the end of our trip, we looked back upon this particular lunch as one of the highlights of our entire experience. It was so much fun, great food, and friendly people working there. You will be snapping away with your digital machines, no doubt, capturing nice memories to remind you years hence about what a joy this was. But no picture can equal the visceral thrill of being in such a stimulating place. Vernazza may be the most beautiful of all, set perfectly in a tiny valley on the edge of the sea. And there are some fishermen. There's still a fishing economy here. It's a little bigger than Cornelia and Monterosso, and yet it is still very, very small. So small that you could walk from one end to the other in about 10 minutes, but you'll want to slow down and get into the local pace. There's no rush here. There is so little level land that the kids use the beach as their soccer field, and sometimes they use the main pedestrian lane for an extension of the game, so watch out for flying soccer balls as you walk through the streets. And watch out for traffic. No, not from automobiles, but from the small kids on their bicycles. This girl makes a great study of determination and play and experience in her environment. Pulling that bicycle up the steps and losing it a little bit, keeping her balance and turning it around and checking it out And this is something that she no doubt does on a daily basis. This is her little home alley, and off she goes. It's great to see there are so many young kids living in this small town, a place that could easily get depopulated and younger families moving out and just old people left behind. But the Cinque Terre seems to be very much alive. Even though they don't have very far to pedal in this tiny village, it's less than a mile long. Looks like bikes are the main way for them to get around. And then we saw something pretty funny. There's this leaky faucet dripping, and down below, catching the drops of water, was a thirsty cat. It looks like this is his regular routine. He was doing a great job catching those drops. That is a very useful leaky faucet. What do we got there? A little ship? Sailboat. Then we dropped in on a local gentleman who's made quite a hobby out of making small model boats, perhaps for sale at the neighborhood shops. We noticed they have a pictorial display about a big flood that happened here in 2011. It was an amazing storm, like a storm of the century, and all the villages of Cinque Terre were really badly hit. Vernazza had a major flood that came right through the center of town. But amazingly, within a year, the people dug out, they cleaned up, and it's back to normal. You'd never know that there had been a flood there if it were not for these photos. You'll find that this little town of Vernazza really will offer the traveler a wonderful experience. And when you're done, very easy, catch a train, away you go. As you come out of the station tunnel, pay attention because you'll have a quick glimpse of the harbor of Vernazza, so get your camera ready. Now you know what a lovely village Vernazza is. One of 5 in the Cinque Terre, and we have many more movies about the area to show you. We upload a new movie every week, so please subscribe to our channel. Then you'll be notified. And if you enjoyed the movie, how about a thumbs up? And we always welcome comments down below. It really helps us spread the word. Thank you.